Hello and welcome to another episode of Sadia Video Career Interview. I'm your host, Stephanie Timmy, and I am so excited today with our guest who is a Senior IT Security Analyst. So before I continue, I'm going to let our special guest introduce herself.
Hey, my name's Sunaina, and I'm a IT Senior Security Analyst. That's just a recent title. I've actually just changed jobs pretty recently. So I've been in the industry for just over 2 years. Came out of uni. I think I must have graduated in like the summer, so it would have been about June, July. And then I landed my first grad job in security that November, I think it was. So I was really lucky. And so one of the things that led me towards cybersecurity was actually during uni, I was doing an internship at a managed security company, and they were just diving into the cyberspace. So whilst I was there, I was introduced to cybersecurity and what it is. Prior to that, I had no idea what cybersecurity was. I just had the typical norm stereotypes, like something bad, something dodgy, very like a man in a dark room wearing a black hoodie, hacking into people's stuff. Like that was it. That was my knowledge of cybersecurity. And I used to watch Mr. Robot, so that definitely kind of influenced my decision there. And so I was introduced to it, and I was like, oh my god, this is like completely different. And from there, I was just dived into it. I was just like, you know what, this is so cool. The government, the UK businesses were investing so much money into it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that it's an industry that's been around for a very long time. I feel like it's moving so fast. So from that internship was probably now 4 years ago. And from then to now, the whole industry has just progressed at a speed that like is hard to even explain to people, the sort of stuff that's out there now. And so I remember when I was coming out of uni and I was asking all of my friends, like, what are you guys looking for? What's next and stuff? And people were going for like the typical, like software development roles and software development grad schemes. I was the only one that was looking for something in cybersecurity. I didn't know anyone that had done it. I didn't know any grads that had done it. So I was just kind of to put myself out there. And then I said to myself, if I can't get a grad scheme in cybersecurity, then I'm going to just get some form of IT role that has a cybersecurity division and then somehow change. But I was lucky, I was grateful. I started the grad scheme with a company called eSecure. They were great. And I learned everything on the job. So prior to that, I didn't really, your traditional penetration testing skills. I didn't even know what it was. I learned everything on the job. And I started with a few other grads. So we kind of just helped each other out. So for that role, predominantly, I started off in doing penetration testing, web application testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started diving into more consultancy, cybersecurity consultancy work. There was a lot of automation involved. I was doing a lot of phishing stuff. I was doing a lot of vulnerability management stuff. So I kind of dived into other areas.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many routes within cybersecurity, technical and non-technical. And for me, like, I just wanted to just feel like a bit of everything that the company was offering, the services that they were offering. I just wanted to see, where do I fit? Where do I see myself going? And what sort of area do I want to specialize in? So I was able to experience that all within the same company and the same role. So when I was looking for a new position, it was just a more of a senior, like an uplift role from that. And I knew exactly what I wanted and where I wanted to dive into. So that brings me on to like today, where I've just started this new job in this senior role. It's been super exciting because I've been able to because I've been exposed to so much in my previous role, I'm able to bring a lot of that skill set to this job. So it's been really nice and fun.
That's really cool. And I think what I find interesting is when you talked about your grad scheme and how that's a great way for people who are new into the industry to kind of get a feel before they make a decision about where they want to specialize in. So I think for those who do have the opportunity, do take advantage of graduate schemes, especially those in cybersecurity. So this brings me to my next question. And you talked about how you were able to take a lot of your experience from your last role into your new role. But for those who are new, thinking of transitioning, what would you advise them in regards to what employers are looking for when they're recruiting for your current role?
I would say that they're looking for someone that has an analytical mind, thinking outside of the box, applying your skill sets and looking at everything from a point where it's like, okay, I'm about to send out this email. Who's it going to? Does it need to be encrypted? Is it someone that works externally from the company? So just thinking about so many things. Security should always be your forefront. But like, I feel like that comes up with time and you learn that with time. But when I first started, like I said, I didn't have the security skills and etc. But what I did have was the analytical thinking outside the box, going out of your way to solve a problem, and numerous things like this. So for me, I would say like those are like yes, as I was saying, just having analytical skills, thinking outside the box, but also bringing a real life element to it. So what are you doing outside of your normal office or outside of normal work? What are you doing around tech? Are you a part of any security groups or foundations or chats? Do you, how do you keep in touch with what's happening? Like I said, cybersecurity is such a it's progressing at light speed. So how are you keeping in touch with that? How do you know what's new? How do you know what's going on? That's super essential. In a lot of interviews, that's one of the first questions that they ask you. How do you keep in touch with what's going on in cybersecurity? And like for me, I'm part of a lot of groups on LinkedIn, etc. But also, I'm a part of a lot of foundations where I'm able to talk about cybersecurity on platforms, as well as visit a lot of exhibitions and seminars or webinars, etc. on that. So I would say like those are like the few things that you definitely that you should look out for and key when looking when talking to employers about cybersecurity.
Thank you. You actually gave a lot of good gems. I think with what you said about making sure you're commercially aware with what's going on with cybersecurity, because there's so much going on. So like even by joining the group, it's given networking experience. You get into like open your mind to a few people. And I think the final stuff you said is, I think employers are always looking for that passion. And, if you're blogging about your experience, if they see you around doing stuff, it really highlights that passion for cybersecurity. I know you didn't have to get a certification necessarily for your role because it was graduate scheme was how you started. But with other people, like with your colleagues that you've seen in the industry, is there any kind of certification that you've seen that they've gotten that's helped them in any way?
Well, it depends again on what route you go down. So if you're going towards a traditional penetration testing role, I did some qualifications, throughout my career. I have done some qualifications in that. So CREST is essential, OSCP is essential for to be a certified tester, because that's what employers are looking for. If you're going to more of the consultancy side, then I would say, this CISSP is up there in terms of what employers are looking for. But again, with the CISSP, I know for sure that comes over time. That's not no one expects you to do it fresh out of uni. That comes after a couple, you need to be in the industry for a few years before you can even take that exam. So but I guess with the penetration testing side, I did the first part of my crest within the first few months of joining. And I haven't done the second part because penetration testing role isn't something that I'm looking to kind of specialize in. So, but if I decide to later, then I can. But on top of that, those are more professional qualifications. They cost a lot of money. You can also do a lot of small ones. You could do a lot of you've got Microsoft. You can do cloud experience, do Azure fundamentals in that, have that behind you, cloud security in that, even AWS. Splunk is a big SIEM platform. Having a look at that and trying to get smaller qualifications in that is also helpful. So obviously work around your budget, how much time you have, and just to kind of show employers that, I'm going out of my way outside of working hours to succeed, and these are the sort of qualifications that I'm taking and willing to take within the next year or so. And even if you have that planned out, like in a year's time, I'm planning to get this qualification, that shows that that you've set yourself a goal and you're working towards it.
Thank you. I think that's definitely some amazing points, especially your last point about by doing those certifications, you're showing employers that you are willing to go the extra mile within the cybersecurity field. So I think you did touch on it a little bit, and that's the current trends, especially when you alluded to cloud. So what would you say are the current hot topics in the cybersecurity market, or areas you feel like our listeners should, take a look at and research a little bit further?
There's so much that I can say about this. I'm going to focus on the cloud. Everything's moved on to the cloud. People and companies are investing heavily in the cloud, even if they're not a security company, even if they're not a IT company. You're seeing bigger corporations go towards it because of how easily accessible it is. It's deemed as being super secure and a whole load of other things. So I feel like cloud exposure and having, understanding how that works is like a big up there with employers at the moment. On top of that is AI and incident response. So incident response is, what do you do if someone hacks into your website, or what do you do if someone hacks into your account? How do you respond to that? Over time, we're seeing a lot of companies invest a lot of money into making sure that they have the frameworks and the playbooks and the procedures in place. The consequences of not is fairly high, especially if someone, is able to get into the building or is able to get into a admin account. The fines are crazy, and especially with the laws of the UK that are changing and, GDPR coming in. So those are the three areas that, companies are investing in, but not even companies, the government's investing in. And that's what they're kind of pushing. And, it's for smaller companies, it's a lot harder because of how expensive it is to even get there. But because it's seen such a core and such a crucial thing in any business now, especially, with COVID, we've seen so many companies move online. We then need to make sure that the smaller businesses and the smaller companies have secure websites, that are HTTPS and not HTTP. They should understand the difference. Otherwise, you'll just put yourself at risk. So it's going to keep growing, and it's only going to get, people are only going to be investing more energy and time into it as everything is literally becoming digitized.
No, I agree with you. And I think like similar, the example you gave about the physical space and now everything is online, you lock your door of your office. So why not lock the door of your cloud? Yeah. So yeah, those are really key points. And I think this is an interesting subject, and I'm really excited about it, especially this question, because I know that in the UK, we're a little hush-hush when it comes to like salary. So I'm going to say like, what is the salary range for your field?
I would say when you first come in, a good grad salary in this field could be anywhere between 28 to 35 K a year, I'd say. Again, depending on experience and the size of the company and the benefits of what the company offers. I feel like that's quite an average sort of pay for that as when you come out of uni as a grad. And then again, when you're moving into more senior roles, you're looking at anywhere between, let's say, 40 to about 55, I'd say. And then onwards from there. But again, it depends on what path you take down. So if you're going towards more of a consultancy side, I feel like you would be able to get to a level where you could potentially be on a 3-figure salary. Again, you could do that as well with a penetration testing role, but it might just take a bit longer. But again, once you've got your qualifications as a penetration tester, you could be on, especially your OSCP, you could easily be on at least 80, I'd say, for that role. So again, talking about salaries, it's hard to kind of pinpoint because there's so many different roles within cyber, and then on top of that, your experience comes into it. And then again, like the size of organizations and how much they're willing to invest. But I would say that compared to other areas within tech, cybersecurity is one that should have the heavier budget within companies. So with that, the benefits for their cybersecurity team are a lot higher as well. So it's a growing industry. It's a good industry. People need the talent. There's a lack of talent, and so now's actually a really good time to get into it, due to like how scarce the skill sets are, compared to how many jobs that are potentially out there.
No, I agree. And I think what I found interesting that you said was mentioning how I guess the part that certifications play in salary as well, and you being able to negotiate what your value is to that company, and then potentially then advocating for a higher salary. So I think that's all around salary negotiations. And you've given us so many gems. And I guess my final question is, what advice would you give someone who is entering or transitioning into cybersecurity?
Well, one of the things that I wish someone told me is go online and, literally there are so many ways that you can upskill yourself for free, whether it's learning PowerShell commands or Linux or playing around with different virtual machines. Just having that knowledge helps a lot. I would say, like invest in that, especially at the beginning, because like with me, I didn't know what I was doing when I started. I learned everything on the job, but I also had to spend a lot of time outside the office upskilling myself. And there's a lot of hacking games, I guess I would call them, out there. Spend your time doing them, spend your time learning from them. There's so many cool YouTube videos of people doing awesome stuff. Watch them, and you just start picking up things. You start picking up the terminology, and you start picking up the mindset. So I feel like that's super crucial that you can do whilst you're at university as well, and then get yourself into a healthy habit. Because once you have that, you'll be using that for the rest of your life, literally for the rest of your career. I know pen testers that have insanely smart that have been doing this for so long, but they're still constantly upskilling themselves. They're still training, because it doesn't take a second before a hacker can do something that you can't do. And there isn't one person in this world that knows every single hacking skill out there. So there's always space for improvement. It doesn't matter how experienced you potentially think you are.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure people would love to connect with you, especially after listening to this talk. So what is the best way they can reach you or get to you?
I guess Twitter. Well, my social medias are pretty much open. LinkedIn, Twitter is open. So I guess that's like a good way. I think my handles are pretty basic, like Sunaina Aytan is literally my name. So I shouldn't be that hard to find. Yeah, I don't have a cool cyber hacking name yet. Haven't really thought of one. So yeah, so just reach out to me on that and I'll be there.
All right. Thank you again for coming on our platform and sharing your time. We appreciate it so, so much.
Thank you.